Imagine surviving 100 days on an ancient survival island. You'll discover lost civilizations, battle mythical creatures, and uncover the island's forbidden history. Can I find the secret to survival on this ancient land? Stay tuned to find out. On day 1, I spawned into the ancient island, in the middle of a strange biome. In front of me stood massive monsters in front of a volcano. Out of all places to spawn. Wait, what is that? On the other side of the river, the monsters were eating a human. And while I was distracted, one of them noticed me. I think it's time to run. I quickly turned around and started getting chased by the giant skull monsters. I swam across the river to get away. As I kept running, it stopped chasing. I ran as far as I could until I found myself in a new biome. I was now in a giant evergreen forest, where I quickly found herds of elk. I then continued punching some wood and getting myself some stone tools, and then hunted down some elks for some food. I smelted up the venison into some steak, collected some more wood, and found some carrots. It was getting close to nighttime, so I found myself a small cave, but felt a strange aura in the air. As it turned to night at the center of the island, the giant world tree changed colors, as things in this island were about to change. While I was exploring the cave, deep down below the surface, in the pits of Tartarus, a giant monster had awakened. He let out a giant roar and began absorbing energy from the world tree. While I was oblivious to this fact, I continued to mine, getting myself coal and iron, smelted up the iron and crafted myself a shield, iron tools, and a chest plate. Once it was daytime, I made my way back to the surface and noticed some kind of structure in the distance. As I got closer, I noticed they were the ruins of a giant pirate ship. So I approached the ruins and found some crabs on the beach. I took them out and got some crab meat, and after defeating them all, I checked out the ruins and pillared up to find a bunch of barrels. I looted one to find potatoes, bones, and string, and then found a pirate hat. Do I look like a pirate now? I also found some iron and a compass, and went to go have a look at the other side. At first, I didn't find anything until I found a lectern with a book. I opened it, and the book read,
31 long days at sea. In navigation, we've finally spotted our destination. With the sun rising and the fog dissipating, the canopy of the giant tree cast a shadow across the land. Our eyes gazed upon the lost island, Terra.
An ancient treasure? Sounds good to me. After one last look around the cabin, I couldn't find anything else, so I went through the evergreen forest and saw the tree that was mentioned in the book. I would have to get a lot closer to get a better look, but I was running low on food, so I grabbed some more carrots and wheat, and it wasn't long till it was turning night, so I decided to lay low in the pirate ruins. I placed down a furnace to smelt some more food, but since it was nighttime, there were now monsters spawning in the evergreen forest. After crafting some bread, I heard some stomping sounds outside and ran out to investigate. What is that? I immediately started to run from the giant treants as they chased me along the beach. After running for a while, I made it to the mountainside and tried losing them by climbing up the mountain. After getting over the mountain, I turned around and watched the treant monster finally leave. That was a close one. As it began snowing, I found a cave to take shelter in, mined myself some coal, and crafted some iron boots. With the sun finally rising, I emerged from the cave and started following the ridge of the snowy mountains. I then noticed some strange mobs ahead of me, and all of a sudden got snuck up on by the strange mobs. I started fighting back and realized they were ice crabs. I took them out one by one and got some more crab meat, and proceeded exploring the snowy mountains. After traveling for a while, I noticed some structures in the distance. I think that's a bridge. And there's also a village. So I went to go cross the river to get a closer look at the village. As I got closer, I noticed something was wrong. Almost all the villager homes were completely destroyed. What happened to this village? There wasn't a single villager in sight, and I continued by following the road which led me to the bridge. I then noticed at the end of the bridge a destroyed lighthouse. A campfire. Maybe there are villagers left. Well, if nobody's home, I'm just gonna grab this. After grabbing the cooked fish, all of a sudden I started getting attacked.
Get out of my house, pirate scum.
Whoa, calm down, I come in peace.
There's no treasure for you here, bub. Now leave this island before you get yourself killed.
Okay, I might have a pirate hat, but I swear I found this on an abandoned ship. How can I prove it to you?
You can prove it by getting out of my house. Now scram.
So this is your house. I know. How about I fix your house for you? I see it's not in the best shape.
What do you know about fixing anything? All pirates do is destroy and pillage for treasure.
Like I said, I'm not a pirate. You can watch me fix the whole thing, I swear.
Most pirates would have ran off by now, instead of offering up a kindness. I'll let you fix it, but if you try anything fishy, I'll have you cast back to the ocean.
So with permission from Niko, I backed out of the lighthouse and noticed the toppled over top half of the lighthouse. So I placed down a couple chests and a crafting table and got to work mining and chopping down the top half of the lighthouse. After a couple days, I finished mining it all down, and with all the materials, started building it back up. After a couple more days of building, I completely fixed Niko's lighthouse. After climbing back down from the top, I noticed Niko coming across the bridge.
It's back in one piece. Looks like you weren't just yapping. Thanks, lad.
Now that I fixed it, can you explain what happened here?
Well, the pirates robbed and destroyed my lighthouse when I was out fishing. They're all looking for the same thing.
Earlier, I found a pirate journal that spoke of an ancient treasure. Is that what they're looking for?
Not just any treasure, Kronos' treasure. Said to be buried under the world tree. There's an ancient tale that tells the god of time planted the tree himself, and using his powers, accelerated the growth of it, burying his treasure within. It's a fable told by pirates and fishermen, a load of rubbish in my book.
So I'm guessing it hasn't been found yet?
Every pirate crew that lands here either flees the island in a few days of searching, or they get themselves killed. The tale only brings destruction.
Whoa, so that would explain the village that was destroyed too.
Not entirely.
What? So pirates didn't destroy it?
Follow me, lad.
So I followed Niko across the bridge as he led me back into Frost Harbor Village, eventually leading me to a destroyed temple.
Here once stood my hometown, Frost Harbor Village. 5 years ago, I decided to go overnight fishing for a change. When returning home, I saw my village in flames. It was reduced to rubble, and the villagers had disappeared. My first thought was pirates, but nothing was stolen, just destroyed.
So what was it then? How does that just happen randomly?
I'm not sure, lad, but there was a strange aura, like it was something supernatural.
Well, I'm going to be exploring the island, and I'll get to the bottom of this.
I can't stop you from going, but avoid the jungle by the world tree. It's most dangerous there. I can't thank you enough for fixing my house.
Stay safe, Niko. And so, with a little more information, Niko and I parted ways. Before leaving Frost Harbor Village, I thought it'd be a good idea to look around for some clues. I first looked in some of the destroyed homes, and decided to stock up on some books for later. After checking all the homes, I went back to the temple, and immediately noticed some soul sand. And after making sure there was nothing else in the actual temple, I started digging through the soul sand under the temple. And it wasn't long until I found netherrack. I mined through the netherrack and found what looked to be a cave. It is pitch black down there. So I decided to go get my bed so I could do this during the day. After grabbing my bed and going to sleep for the night, I returned to the strange cave and started mining out more of the netherrack. I eventually mined out enough to where I could see the bottom and decided to just send it. I looked around for some mobs but noticed there weren't any around. I crafted some more torches and started lighting up the area to reveal the rest of the cave. Not only was the cave made out of netherrack, there was a strange warped route that ran through the sides of the cave. I continued going deeper into the cave until I eventually reached a dead end. What is this? I found what looked like another giant root. So I tried breaking a piece and was immediately given nausea and mining fatigue. What the heck is that? I immediately got poisoned and started fighting the snake. After a few more hits, I eventually took it down, but it seemed like the root had some sort of defense mechanism, as I wasn't able to break any more. Let me look somewhere else. So I ran back to the middle of the cave and found one more unexplored part. It again led to another dead end with a giant tree root blocking the way. These have to be from the world tree, right? I noticed it was turning night outside, so I placed down my bed and went to sleep for the night. The next morning, I pillared up out of the cave and decided it was time to leave Frost Harbor Village and started traveling to the Dark Oak Mushroom Forest. After crossing the river, it wasn't long until I found some strange mobs. A snail? Wait, it's hostile? After getting attacked by the poisonous snail, which apparently dropped slime balls, I defeated some more for some more slime, and then ran into my next foe. They were carnivorous plants that shot poison and did a lot of damage. After taking one out, I had to run away to heal up and found some animals for some more food. I was also gonna need to find a spot for my base, so I prepped by getting some more wood, and after looking around the biome some more, I found what looked like another volcano. However, with it getting closer to nighttime, I quickly found myself a cave to mine in for the night. I mined myself a bunch of coal and a lot more iron. I crafted myself some new tools, the rest of my iron armor, and a bucket. I then went to sleep for the rest of the night, smelted up some food, and replenished my supply of coal. I then pillared out of the cave, and while exploring, ran into some more poisonous plants. I ended up taking too much damage, so I ran for the mountains, and of course ran into some more ice crabs. After taking them out one at a time, I continued over the snowy mountain until I found myself a fairly peaceful part of the island. Hey, this seems like a pretty good spot to build a base. After making sure there was nothing dangerous close by, I got to work on setting up camp for the night. For a start, I made myself a small tent that would have just enough room for the necessities. I also built a small campfire outside the tent for some aesthetics and lit up the surrounding area with torches. Once my campsite was complete, I went to bed for the night. The next morning, I crafted myself a boat and made my way back down the river, as I was in desperate need of food. It wasn't long until I stumbled upon some carrots and potatoes, as well as a bunch of animals. After gathering enough food to last me a while, I collected some more wood for my future plans for a bigger base. After chopping a bunch of wood for a while, I had lost track of time. It was already almost turning night, so I started rushing back to base. But while running back, the world tree had already changed over to its corrupt state. I noticed out of the corner of my eye how it looked different, and then noticed a strange mob coming toward me. What the heck is that? They immediately started to attack me and did way more damage than I was expecting. My axe broke and I was forced to fight them with my pickaxe. Luckily, I managed to defeat them, and while running back, I ran into some more strange monsters. It was a giant stone golem, which I was luckily able to defeat. These were not around during the day. I then continued my way over the snowy mountains and boated back through the river back to my tent. I need a nice long rest after that. The next morning, my wheat farm, which I had planted before, was ready to be harvested, and after replanting it, I crafted some bread, and I was now ready to start planning what my base would look like. My idea is to first create a dock with a gazebo to fish and use boats from. Secondly, to extend a road up to the mountain and create a mountain home. Third would be creating a watchtower on the mountain for my enchantment room, and fourth, a wizard tower for all the brewing supplies. And I'll spice it up later on with additional details like some castle walls or an archer tower. So with my plan in place for building my base, I crafted a new axe and some building supplies and got to work on the new dock. After finishing the first walkway, I got to work on creating the gazebo and decided to mix in some cobblestone and made sure there was plenty of torches. After placing the boats, the dock with the gazebo was complete. I then harvested my wheat farms again and replanted them and set out to do a little exploring. I stopped by the volcanoes first to get a closer look and noticed ancient debris scattered along the volcano. But I also noticed there were skull crawlers there too. So I tried taking a better route to get closer, but eventually came face to face with one of the skull crawlers. It immediately noticed me and roared, so I crossed the river to escape from it, and after the sunset, I fought some more stone golems, and then decided I'd need to go mining. After finding myself a cave, I mined a bunch of iron, coal, my first diamonds, gold, and redstone. I smelted up the iron to make myself some iron tools, and continued to get deeper and deeper into the cave. But it wasn't long after till I heard a strange noise. Little did I know, I went a little bit too deep into the cave, and the monster under the world tree detected my presence.
I've detected a rat that has scurried closer to my domain. Its presence is bothersome.
Typhon then summoned in 2 giant snakes.
Find and exterminate it.
And little did I know, I was being hunted down. At the end of the cave, I ended up finding a skeleton spawner, and after defeating the skeletons and lighting it up, a treasure mimic spawned in. After I defeated it, it dropped a chest and a diamond. After defeating another treasure mimic, I looted the dungeon and found some more gold, lapis, and found some more diamonds to craft a diamond pickaxe. I continued mining in the cave until I eventually found a giant lava pool. I used some water to climb down to it, defeated the mobs, and I found and captured an axolotl. I then mined myself 4 obsidian. However, while mining the 5th, the ground began to shake. What is happening? What on earth is that? The giant snake let out a roar and then burrowed back into the lava. I need to get out of here. I started pillaring back up to the cave I came from and started making a run for it. However, right behind me was the giant snake eating everything in its path. I continued following the cave to try and escape, but it was chasing right behind me and getting even closer. I continued running as fast as I could and found what looked like a dead end at first. Luckily, the cave continued and I had gained enough distance to try and hide. I hid behind one of the pillars and watched as the giant snake passed by. Where did that even come from? The giant snake was massive, but eventually passed me by. When the coast was clear, I made a run for it and finally made my way back to the surface. Now that I was safe, I thought it'd be a good idea to returned to base, and I crafted myself some more bread. I then made an enchantment table and got rid of the benches around the campfire so I could start building again. I started on the road that would lead up to my base on the side of the mountain and started working on the staircase. I then detailed the road with a bit of cobblestone and detailed the staircase all the way up. I then began working on the exterior of my mountain home using dark oak and stone brick. After finishing the roof and the lighting, the exterior of my mountain house was complete. I placed down a few chests inside the base, then went back to work by crafting a new axe, shield, and smelted some more iron to create a new iron armor set. I then enchanted my pickaxe with efficiency 1 and most of my armor with protection 1. I then went back to the river to start exploring the island again. While traveling past the world tree, there was something happening underground. Typhon let out a giant roar as the giant snakes were summoned back to his chambers.
You finally returned. This insect has been affecting my concentration. Was it eliminated? Float through the surface.
All of a sudden, Typhon attacked and killed the giant snake, and then reabsorbed the energy.
Get out of my sight and don't come back until the task is complete.
On the surface, I had arrived at my destination and was now in the swamplands. It wasn't long until I noticed my first strange creature. I swam across the river and was greeted by a giant mosquito. I ended up defeating it pretty easily, but noticed there was a lot of them around the swamps. After defeating a lot more mosquitoes, I continued and found leeches. They poisoned me and did a lot of damage, but after kiting them around for a while, I managed to take them all down. I then ran into some slimes, which I took down for slime balls. After fighting the slimes for a while, I noticed it was turning nighttime, so I burrowed underneath one of the trees to make a small space so I could sleep for the night. The next morning, I crafted myself some more stone axes and took down some more slimes. After traveling some more, I ended up finding giant rats. They weren't too difficult to fight, but it wasn't long till the rats started to swarm. I took them out one at a time and fought some more mosquitoes and made another small base inside of one of the rocks. I smelted up the rat meat for some food and continued taking them down. While fighting some more rats, I ended up running into a baby spider. One that attacked me and trapped me in cobwebs, which was kind of difficult to deal with. For the rest of the day, I continued getting as much rat meat as possible, smelted it all up, and went to sleep for the night. And the next morning, I ended up getting swarmed by even more rats. But after taking down a few, one started to run away. Hey, where are you going? It continued to try and swim away, but it eventually led me to the Rat King. The battle had begun and the Rat King shot me with his crossbow, which I blocked. I then landed a few hits, blocked his arrow shot, and continued damaging the Rat King. He then summoned in mosquitoes and baby spiders and threw poison on me, which did a lot of damage. But I managed to heal up, tried going back in, but got stuck in more cobwebs. The Rat King then hit me with a tailspin, bringing me down to half a heart. After regenning back to full health, I went back in, and after a few more hits, I had defeated the Rat King. After circling back around, I found that the Rat King had dropped something. What is this? Zephyr's Swamp Wand. I then tested the wand and found it had some magical abilities. Made myself a new axe, and then found myself a rock to sleep in for the night. The next morning, I went back out to explore the rest of the swamps, and after defeating a couple mosquitoes, I noticed a structure in the distance. I climbed up on top of one of the rocks to get a better look, and noticed what looked like a witch's house. I climbed back down and fought through some more mosquitoes to get a closer look, and slowly approached the entrance. I carefully entered the house to see what was inside, and noticed a door, but decided to go up the stairs first. Once I reached the second floor, I noticed some strange machinery, and some caged animals. Ow, what was that? Cobwebs!
A human snooping around my swamps?
Hey, I can't move. I come in peace.
Then state your business.
I'm trying to help my friend, Niko.
Niko, blind old fisherman? Ha! That brings back memories. Helping with what?
Well, his village was destroyed. He thinks it was something supernatural, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it.
Ah, foolish of you to strut around this island willy-nilly. I will say I'm impressed you've made it here in one piece. The leeches alone should have eaten you alive.
It wasn't just the leeches. I defeated a rat king, some mosquitoes, and slimes.
Mosquitoes and slimes are simply... Wait, did you say Rat King?
Yes?
I've been hunting the Rat King for months. How did someone like you... Forget it. Maybe you do have some combat ability, but you're still a fool without the proper tools.
Gee, thanks.
Let's strike a deal then, mophead. In exchange for my wand the Rat King stole from me, I'll craft you a weapon capable of taking on the toughest of foe.
So you're Zephyr then? A weapon sounds great, but I'm looking for information about this island. What can you tell me?
Listen, Loggylocks, I'm not giving up anything until I have my wand back. Now, follow me to my lab.
Zephyr then handed me a bucket of milk so I could remove the slowness. I then followed him down the steps to his lab, and the first thing I noticed was the crossbow on top of the anvil. Zephyr then explained to me that I need to collect these materials in order to craft it. Where do you expect me to find this stuff? Where do I even look for elderwood?
You can find it in the Evergreen Forest to the south. You'll have to defeat some dangerous mobs over there, but you'll be fine with my wand. I'll let you borrow it.
I'm probably gonna have to gear up a bit more first. I'll get the materials when I'm ready.
Whatever you do, don't lose my wand.
So with this new objective to collect elderwood, string, and a Terra essence, I had a feeling I knew which mobs he was talking about, and I was gonna need a lot better gear to be able to deal with them. After going to sleep for the night, the next morning I set out to head back to base. And on the afternoon of day 34, I made it back to my base. I went back up to my home to deposit the materials I got from the swamps, crafted myself a new iron axe, and combined my 2 old armor sets to repair them. After re-enchanting all of my armor, I knew it was time for me to go mining again. So I hopped in a boat and found a cave in the mushroom forest. In this new cave, I mined myself a bunch of coal, gold, lapis, iron, redstone, and a bunch of diamonds. After mining as many ores as I could, I returned back to base, harvested and replanted my wheat farms, crafted myself full diamond armor, a diamond axe, and a new diamond pickaxe. With the books I got from Frost Arbor Village, I crafted some bookshelves and knew it was time for phase 3 of my base. So I picked out a spot on top of the mountain for my clock tower. I then continued the hallway in my mountain base, that way it would connect to the clock tower above. I also expanded the storage in this area and added a furnace room. I then pillared up so I could mine a shaft that led to the top of the mountain, and then started working on the base of the clock tower. I decided to use stone brick, oak wood, and dark oak wood for this build, and used white concrete for the face of the clocks. I finished the clock tower with the stone brick and dark oak rooftop, and set up the enchantment station on the interior. And just like that, the enchantment clock tower was complete. And just past my storage room and my furnaces was a ladder that led all the way up to the clock tower. With the enchantment room set up, I enchanted my pickaxe with efficiency 4 on breaking 3, and the rest of my diamond armor with protection. I also enchanted a sharpness 1 book and put it on a diamond axe, and crafted some golden apples. With the sun almost setting, I harvested my farms to craft some more bread, went to sleep for the night, and was now ready to head out to the Evergreen Forest. I followed the river past the mushroom forest, and I hugged the coast until I eventually reached the old pirate ship ruins. After waiting till nighttime, I entered the Evergreen Forest. With it turning nighttime, the world tree morphed into its corrupt state. When I equipped Zephyr's wand, it had a passive effect of giving me night vision. So I continued hunting through the forest to see if I could find those strange mobs, and it wasn't long until I found them. To my surprise, the wand killed one in 1 hit, and I was able to take the other one out with relative ease. There was a couple more past that, where I used my diamond axe to take them both out. I checked to see what they had dropped, and they had all dropped elderwood. Since I needed 32 elderwood, I was gonna need to kill a bunch more of these. I continued finding more and more of them, and I used the wand and my axe to take them out. However, the next one I found was a bit tougher. It was one of the giant ones that had a giant club for a weapon. It did a lot of damage and slammed me down to knock me back. I eventually backed up and defeated it using the wand. I continued trekking through the forest, taking them out one at a time. After taking them out one at a time, I eventually got 32 elderwood. Now that it was daytime, they stopped spawning, so I did some hunting and foraging for some more food, and collected a bunch of wood so I'd have more for building later. After doing that for the rest of the day, now that it was nighttime, I got back to hunting the tree monsters. But this time I noticed one that I did not recognize. I first took out the smaller ones and hit the giant one with my wand, and it turned out to be a boss, and was responsible for summoning in the tree monsters. After taking down his minions, I was now facing the shaman boss. I dodged one of its big attacks and continued damaging it with my axe. It then hit me with a poison attack, which also gave me nausea. I then backed up to eat a golden apple and went back in to land more attacks. As I got it lower, it summoned in even more minions, so I took them out first and continued attacking the main boss. All of a sudden, it started using an attack that sent out tornadoes everywhere. It sent me flying backwards and threw me into the air. So after eating a golden apple, I went back in and had the boss really low. After getting hit by a big attack, I had to eat my last golden apple and made sure to keep using the wand when I could. After dodging its tornado attack, I landed the last few hits and defeated the shaman. I noticed it dropped an item, and when I picked it up, it was the Terra essence I needed for the craft. After I picked it up, I felt a tremor beneath the surface. Little did I know, I had just been detected by Typhon. happen, as I had just defeated one of his minions. He then commanded his army of snakes and sent them out to hunt me down. Now all that was left for me to get the string for the craft. So I started heading back to the swamps to go defeat some baby spiders, but on my way there, I started getting interrupted by Typhon snakes. They sent poison at me, but I started fighting back with my axe. As I kept on running, more and more popped up. I tried defeating them one at a time, but was quickly getting overwhelmed. I tried making a run for it, but then noticed a familiar face. Zephyr?
Stand back, Mophead.
Zephyr was now helping me using some kind of bow and was wiping out the snakes with ease. And it wasn't long till all the snakes were defeated.
Follow me. He'll lose our scent in the swamps.
Luckily for me, the snakes dropped string, and I continued by following Zephyr back into the swamps. After a bit of travel, we eventually made it back to Zephyr's house. I followed him back up to his lab and was now ready to craft the crossbow.
I assume you have the crafting materials, Mosshead.
Yep, I have them.
Excellent. Hand them over with my staff.
So along with Zephyr's staff, I gave him all the materials to craft the crossbow. He then got to work crafting it, and it wasn't long until it was complete.
This is the first of its kind, and should take you pretty far before it falls apart.
He then handed me the corrosive crossbow, which looked pretty cool. This thing looks awesome. Thanks, Zephyr. So what exactly were those snakes?
Well, Mophead, the truth is, I'm not sure. What I do know is all these strange creatures started appearing after the Frost Harbor village incident. It's like that was the first test by whatever's behind this treachery. I've been creating new weapons in the swamps to deal with these monsters for years, but they continue to evolve and get stronger.
How did you end up in the swamps?
This is my retirement home. I was once researching this mess with my former colleague. That dope couldn't see the importance of my approach to stopping the virus spreading across the land. So we parted ways for a while.
You mean there's another wizard on this island?
I haven't seen him since then, so I don't know if he remained on the island. If you find him, Mophead, don't mention my name.
All right, but why?
He might kill you.
Okay, that's a good reason. We then bid each other farewell, and with all this new information, I started heading back to my base. But now that I had this new crossbow, it was time to test it out. It had power 5 and infinity, and I was able to two-shot mosquitoes and easily take out any of the swamp mobs. After killing a bunch of the rats for some more food, I started heading back to my base. And on the morning of day 50, I made it back. I harvested my farms to craft some more food, and grabbed some of the diamonds I mined earlier to repair my armor. After that, I smelted the rest of my gold to craft another golden apple, and crafted some signs to do a little bit of organizing. But while doing that, I heard an explosion coming from outside. I went out to investigate, and when rounding the corner, I noticed a giant pirate ship. And I was now face to face with a pirate.
Arr, a pit stop on a road to Kronos' treasure, boys. Destroy and pillage everything.
Without warning, the pirates began to attack me, and I was forced to fight back. I focused the henchman first, and the pirate captain fired his cannon. Cannonballs exploded near me, doing a bunch of damage, so I used my crossbow to fight back. My crossbow was also poisoning him, and I dodged one of his kicks. I continued pelting him with poisonous arrows, and almost got hit with another explosion. All of a sudden, I had him stunned and started landing some big critical hits. He then summoned in some more henchmen, so I swapped my focus to defeat them first. After taking them out, I ate some more food to regen. He then hit me with one of his melee attacks, which knocked me into the air. I broke my fall with a water bucket, defeated some more of his henchmen. After pelting him with a few more arrows, I had him stunned again and had defeated Captain Krieg. I went over and found that he dropped a bunch of gold, which I could use later to craft golden apples. I then went over to the pirate ship to investigate, and unfortunately there wasn't really much on the pirate ship. So I returned back to my base and was now ready to start phase 4 of my main base. So I started by creating a new hallway inside of my base that would lead to my new build. After finishing digging out the hallway, I went to the top of the mountain to start digging out the shaft that would connect to the hallway. After digging all of it out, I detailed it with some dark oak pillars and stone brick walls, and did some detailing on the hallway by making it feel more like a mine shaft. After changing some of the walls into stone brick walls and smelting up some more cobblestone, I was now ready to get to work on the wizard tower. I started by building up the base with stone brick and dark oak pillars and created a spiral staircase connecting 3 different levels. After that was complete, I got to work on creating the final story, where I used a mixture of spruce and dark oak wood, and capped off the roof with some deep slate. And just like that, phase 4 of my main base was done. Just like the clock tower, I had a ladder that led all the way up to the wizard tower, but was gonna need to find brewing materials to create a brewing room. Not only that, but I needed to restock on some more wood. So I hopped in a boat down the river and got to work chopping down some trees in the mushroom forest. However, while chopping down some trees, I heard a skullcrawler roar in the distance. So I started running in the direction that I heard it in, and it wasn't long until I found the skullcrawler. However, when I got a closer look, there was a wizard fighting the skullcrawler. The skullcrawler let out a massive roar as the wizard continued to cast his magic. All of a sudden, the wizard splashed a potion on it, and the skullcrawler roared as it ran away. Why did that skullcrawler just run? I think he sees me. The wizard then started running after me as I tried hiding behind one of the trees.
Show yourself or get vaporized. Your choice.
Whoa, wait. I mean no harm. I'm friends with Niko, the fisherman.
A friend of Niko. I'm glad to hear that lonely old soul found a friend. What do you want?
Well, I'm not from the Frost Harbor village. Just an explorer on the island.
Just an explorer, eh? Where did a simple explorer like you craft such advanced weaponry?
Well, I found it.
Found it?
Yes, from a witch's hut in the swamplands. It was in rough shape.
Huh. Maybe that old man Zephyr finally kicked the bucket.
Huh?
Nothing. So, what's brought you back to my forest for the 5th time?
Well, I've been needing to use some of the resources here for my own survival. Wait, did you say 5th time?
Yes, everything that enters my forest is accounted for, especially humans. That way I can conduct my potion research in peace.
Potion research? I've been needing to make potions. Where can I find potion materials?
This forest is plentiful, but you won't find what you need here. The volcanic wastelands to the west, you can find what you need, but you won't live to bring them back.
I'm guessing it's because of those skeleton monsters you were just fighting.
Undead basilisks, skull crawlers, they have a variety of names, but they're vicious and will devour you on sight.
How did you manage to get the one you were fighting with to run away?
Come out to my lab, I'll show you.
With Percy the wizard leading the way, I began to follow him through the mushroom forest, and it wasn't long until we reached his lab. Wait, this was his lab? His house was hidden inside of a giant mushroom, and he led me up to the 2nd story and stopped in front of one of the brewing stands.
A recipe of my own creation, the Skullcrawler Repellent. You'll need to bring me these materials in order to make one.
Okay, would I just drink it?
Yes, it will deter any skullcrawlers from coming near you for the duration.
All right, Percy, I'll be back with those materials soon. So, with the new objective to craft a skullcrawler repellent, I left Percy's lab and resumed my earlier project of getting a bunch of wood. After getting all the dark oak and oak wood I would need, I returned back to base to put back the materials, and then returned back to the mushroom forest to start working on getting the materials for the skullcrawler repellent. I first found some snails which dropped snail shells, and chopped down one of the giant mushrooms for all the brown mushrooms I would need. After that, I started taking out more snails and started fighting some of the poisonous plants so I could get all the plant poison I would need. I continued finding them all over the mushroom forest, and after defeating one plant at a time, I got all the plant poison I would need for the recipe. After taking out a couple more snails, I got all the snail shells, and I was now ready to return to Percy's lab with all the materials. Once I had entered his lab, I looked around but couldn't find him anywhere. Anybody home?
Got my materials?
Wait, were you invisible?
Yes, one of my specialties, and...
Oh yeah, I've got them. Here you go. I then handed all the stuff over to Percy and watched as he brewed the potion. And it wasn't long until the Skullcrawler repellent potion was done.
Tread carefully out there. No one will come and save you.
Thanks, that's reassuring. Now that I had what I needed to get brewing materials, I decided to take a pit stop at one of the caves, and I mined myself a bunch of different ores, so I would be decently prepared. I also fought some creepers and skeletons, and ended up finding another skeleton spawner. In the chest, I ended up getting a bunch of gunpowder, and some diamond horse armor. I then returned back to the surface to head back to base. Once I had returned, I took out all the gold I got from the pirates, crafted some golden apples, restocked on food, and was now ready to head out to the volcanoes. It wasn't long till I arrived at the volcanic biome and encountered my first skullcrawler. I quickly drank the skullcrawler repellent, and immediately the skullcrawler ran away. Wow, it actually worked. I was running on limited time, so I immediately went over to the ancient debris and mined as much as I could. Once I reached the top of the volcano though, there were a bunch of blazes. So I started defeating the blazes one at a time for blaze rods, and once they were all defeated, continued mining ancient debris. After mining as much as I could from this volcano, I went down the side and then encountered magma cubes. Using my axe, I started taking them out one at a time and got myself a bunch of magma cream. I then continued exploring the biome and spotted another skullcrawler. The skullcrawler repellent worked again, and I continued exploring. After getting past some lava, I found some soul sand with nether wart and started digging up as much as I could. After getting what I needed, I went back over to the skeleton I found, but then noticed a strange cave. I first mined myself a bunch of the bone blocks, but then went over to check out the cave. I immediately found a bunch of glowstone and continued by mining as much as I could. And I continued mining without paying attention to my potions timer. I continued mining and found nether gold ore and quartz, and it wasn't long till I figured out I had overstayed my welcome. Oh no, my potion is gone! Once the skullcrawler had finished roaring, the battle had begun. I hit the skullcrawler with a poison arrow, but then got hit by one of its chomps. I landed a couple hits with my diamond axe, and all of a sudden the skullcrawler let out a poisonous breath. It did a ton of damage, so I ate a golden apple and used my corrosive crossbow to do more damage. I went back in to try and land some more melee hits and barely dodged its chomp attack. It then used its roar to knock me back, but I stayed on top of the skullcrawler to keep on doing damage. It continued to chomp me over and over, so I switched back to my crossbow and now had it on a sliver of HP. It let out one more poisonous breath, and with one more shot of my crossbow, I defeated the skullcrawler. I then noticed it had dropped something on the ground. After picking it up, I found it was a corrupted Terra essence, and I really had no idea what it was used for. All I knew was I needed to get the heck out of this cave, and before I knew it, I was face to face with another skullcrawler. This time I knew I needed to run, and I quickly got over to the river and used my boat to escape. I was pretty happy to get out of there in one piece, and I continued down the river till I returned to my base. Now that I had all the brewing materials I needed, I crafted a couple brewing stands and some blaze powder, went up the ladder to my wizard tower, and spent some time setting up a little brewing area. Once the brewing area was done, I knew it was now time to start setting up phase 5 of my main base. So I started by clearing out the trees and terraforming the land, so I would have room to extend the road and create some new farms. I made sure to fence off some areas, then planted wheat and carrots, and in the other section, potatoes and beetroots. Once those farms were complete, I replaced the wheat on the river with some sugarcane, and then went over to the beach to collect some sand. I smelted up the sand to get some glass, and crafted some glass bottles. I then went up to the brewing area and started brewing some potions. I started with a batch of speed 2 and strength 2 potions, and once those were done, I figured it'd be a good idea to return to Percy's lab, as I had a feeling he would know about the corrupt Terra essence. Once I made it back to his lab, I went inside and found him brewing some potions. Hey Percy, I acquired something and I don't know what it is.
You again? Not now. Can't you see I'm busy?
I ended up defeating a skullcrawler and got a corrupt Terra essence. Not really sure.
Hold on. Show it to me.
Okay.
By gods, I've been trying to extract a usable sample for years. After numerous failures, I was never strong enough to kill one, but now you come along and...
So, what's it used for?
This must be a work of fate. Oh, used for, you see. I recently created a recipe that was a hypothetical cure to the corruption on this island. It just requires some very niche ingredients.
What kind of ingredients?
I'll show you.
Percy then led me up the stairs as we climbed up to the top of his lab. Inside of this room was the recipe for the Terra potion.
The first and most important is the corrupt Terra essence. The rest can be found in the jungle by the World Tree, the most dangerous area on the island.
So the World Tree is the source of the corruption?
You are partly correct. The World Tree shares a symbiotic relationship between itself and an ancient monster. A monster said to be cast into the deepest pits of Tartarus.
Who?
The younger sibling of the ancient Greek Titans, Typhon. The World Tree's roots grew uncontrollably, delving deeper into the ground until they reached Typhon's chambers in the pits of Tartarus. Typhon latched on and became a symbiote to the tree. During the day, Typhon absorbs its energy, and at night, the World Tree absorbs Typhon's. Once he's acquired his full power, he could be free from Tartarus.
How do you know all of this?
Through sheer luck and research, young man. One day I traversed through the central jungle with my invisibility and made it into the labyrinth beneath the World Tree. I got close enough to catch a glimpse of Typhon himself before I was swarmed by snakes and forced to retreat.
Then why don't we just leave the island?
If Typhon is freed from Tartarus, it could spell the end of the world itself. I can't leave with that kind of knowledge.
Well, I better get started on this recipe.
These can only be acquired near the World Tree. Prepare to the best of your ability and don't take anything lightly.
Sounds like I'll need some better gear. I'll see you soon, Percy. I've got some upgrading to do. After receiving all that information, I knew I needed to upgrade my gear, so I returned back to my base and started by harvesting my sugarcane and the rest of the farms. After I replanted everything, I knew I was gonna need a lot of XP, so I prepared some materials to go create an XP grinder and started heading back to one of the previous caves where I had found a skeleton spawner. I then started turning the skeleton spawner into an XP grinder. I first dug out the area surrounding the spawner and put down some water so all the mobs would flow to the center. After that, I created the drop down area with a hopper and a chest, and just like that, the skeleton grinder was complete. After grinding out a bunch of levels, I returned back to my base, smelted up all the ancient debris into netherite scrap, and crafted myself 8 netherite ingots. I then made a smithing table, crafted and enchanted a diamond sword with sharpness 4, crafted some more smithing templates, upgraded the sword to netherite, disenchanted and repaired all my diamond armor, enchanted and upgraded a chest plate to netherite, grinded out some more levels, and I enchanted and upgraded the rest of the diamond armor into netherite armor. After that was complete, I was now in full netherite armor, and I was only missing a couple more things. So I made my way back to the mushroom forest, took out one of the poisonous plants, and found myself some melons. After getting the melons I needed, I returned back to base and extended my farm so I could make a melon farm. After it was built, I went back up to the brewing area, crafted some glistening melons, brewed myself 2 batches of instant health 2 potions. I put them all in the chest for now as I had a separate project to work on, as it was the final phase of my base as I wanted to build some walls to connect to all the builds. I was gonna need some more materials though, so I went back to one of the caves and started mining myself a ton of andesite. The andesite would be used primarily for the walls, and I also made sure to smelt up a bunch of cobblestone. Now that I had all the materials I needed, I started working on the castle walls. I used polished andesite for the pillars and stone brick for the inner part of the walls. After building it up to the proper layer, I capped it off with some stairs and slabs and added in a spruce floor. Once that section of the wall was complete, I got to work on the castle walls by the main entrance. I first terraformed the area a bit so that the castle walls would fit better and started laying down the foundation for the walls. I used the same style design with the andesite and stone brick and finished the walls off with the spruce floor on top. I then added some details to the entrance, and once that was done, I started working on the road and staircase to the archer tower. I made sure to use the same kind of staircase design I used to get to my main base and connected the archer tower to the walls. For the archer tower, I used dark oak, cobblestone, and stone brick, and capped it off with a spruce roof. I then connected the castle wall by tunneling to the inner part of the mountain and connecting it to the shaft of the wizard tower. I then finished up the roads that led through the entrance of the walls, and just like that, my base was complete. I made sure just about everything was connected by roads, where I could go up my archer tower and go along the walls to access any part of my base. So I went back up to the wizard tower to get the instant health potions I brewed earlier, and I was now ready to move out to go to the jungle at the center of the island. As I approached the center jungle, the sun started to set, and after I had entered the jungle, I spotted my first strange mob. Maybe I shouldn't get spotted by this thing. I tried hiding initially, but noticed there were even more of them, so I had no choice but to fight them. They looked like giant plant monsters that poisoned me when they hit me. They did a lot of damage, so I backed up to use my crossbow, but they only dropped vines when I defeated them. I then fought a basic poisonous plant, but then noticed a giant one. So I slowly approached it, but there were also plant monsters surrounding it. I was getting withered by the giant poisonous plant, but after taking out the plant monsters, I went over to the giant plant and took it out with ease. It ended up dropping my first corrupt remnant. I continued and fought another poisonous plant, getting another corrupt remnant. After finding and defeating a couple more, I ended up finding a strange plant on the ground. When I punched the plant, it withered me, but also dropped a mysterious herb, which was the second component of the potion recipe. I managed to find a couple more closer to the world tree and continued finding more as I circled around. I was gonna need more corrupt remnants, so I got closer to the center of the world tree and found another strange mob. It was a giant mutant flower, which poisoned me and did a ton of damage. So I got closer with my netherite sword and managed to take out the mutant flower. It dropped some corrupt remnants, so I continued around the world tree taking on more mutant flowers. I ended up getting hit by the giant laser attack, had to eat some food to regen, but managed to take out another. I also kept collecting more mysterious herbs and fighting more giant poisonous plants. plants. After taking out a few more poisonous plants, I now had all the corrupt remnants I needed. All I needed now were a couple more mysterious herbs, which I found sitting next to a mutant flower. So I jumped in with my netherite sword, doing as much damage as possible, and once I had it defeated, I got the rest of the herbs I needed. Now that I had all the mysterious herbs, it was time to get the heck out of there, and I made my way out of the jungle back to the mushroom forest, eventually making it back to Percy's lab. I climbed up to the top story to bring the materials to Percy.
You actually survived? Did you get the ingredients?
Yes, I actually did.
Quickly, hand them over. We don't have much time.
Okay. I quickly handed over the materials to Percy, not questioning him, and it wasn't long after that he had brewed the potion.
At last, I've dreamed of this day, dear boy. Listen closely. You'll need to take on Typhon and weaken him at the very least. While he's distracted by you, I'll be using the Terra potion on the roots to cure the corruption, which should also weaken him.
You'll be coming with me?
Of course. How else would you make it through the labyrinth?
Alright, sounds like a decent plan. Just don't disappear on me. So with the plan in place to go with Percy to the World Tree, I let him know I'd need to go back to my base first to make some final preparations. Once I had returned to my base, I once again harvested all my farms, and then crafted some more golden apples. I then got to work brewing up some more instant health potions, and smelted up a couple more stacks of food. Once that was done, I was now ready to meet back up with Percy. He appeared out of invisibility in front of his house, and was clearly ready to go. All right, Percy, let's move out. So, following my lead, we started heading to the center jungle. I made sure to be the one in the front clearing the path for Percy, as he helped me with his wand from behind me. After defeating some of the monsters, we were getting a lot closer to the World Tree.
There's an opening on one side of the tree. Just be careful.
Got it. As we got closer to the World Tree, we started fighting some mutant flowers. Luckily, I knew how to deal with them now, and I utilized my ranged crossbow to kill them. After defeating the mutant flowers, I found the opening on the side of the World Tree. It was protected by a bunch of poisonous plants and plant monsters. With the help of Percy's wand, we were able to take them all out, and we were now entering the heart of the World Tree. This is really creepy. Not only were there corrupted vines everywhere, but it was filled with mutant flowers and other dangerous mobs. So I slowly started making my way down, taking out the mutant flowers one at a time. But while making my way down, Typhon snakes started popping up and attacking me. Well, that's a good sign that he probably knows we're here. We continued scaling down using the roots, and I used my crossbow to take out more of the snakes. We eventually reached the bottom where we were greeted by a bunch more snakes and more mutant flowers. I first took out the mutant flower and then started taking out the snakes one at a time. After taking those out, Percy went ahead and started leading the way, and we eventually reached a fork in the road.
This is the labyrinth. By now, they know we're here, but don't make any extra noise.
So which way do we go?
I think left. Oh, or was it right?
You think?
Left. Surely.
We're definitely getting lost. So following Percy, I started taking out the snakes ahead of us, as we had to scale the roots to cross the water. After taking out the rest of the snakes ahead of us, I followed Percy until we reached a giant open room.
I could have sworn it was left, but maybe it was right. I should have written it down ages ago, my dumb old self. Stop! What's that noise?
After hearing a roar, the ground began to shake, and the giant serpent appeared in the middle of the room. Not this thing again! Oh no. I started drinking potions as the serpent began attacking me, as the explosion did a lot of damage. I dodged the second attack and landed my first hit with the crossbow. I got closer to do some melee attacks with my sword and started doing some decent damage to the serpent. The Tartarus serpent then let out a huge breath of fire, setting the ground ablaze. I continued doing as much damage as possible, and the serpent then tried knocking me back. And after a few more hits, I got sent flying backwards. Luckily for me, one of the roots broke my fall, and after eating some food, I went back down. I started attacking him again with my crossbow, but all of a sudden, the tail of the serpent emerged from the ground. I was just out of range of its slam attack, but as I got closer to the serpent, I got knocked back again. The tail then came up a second time, and I quickly ran past it to attack the serpent. I landed a few more hits, but got knocked back again, and ran back to do more damage. And then got hit with an attack that brought me down low, so I had to use a potion, but then went right back to doing as much damage as I could. But this time I got knocked straight into the air and had to break my fall with a water bucket. The tail then re-emerged for a third time, and the serpent was now summoning in fire snakes. I continued landing more hits on the serpent, but had to deal with the fire snakes too. I tried using my crossbow to take them out, but I had to just ignore them, as the serpent was now in super low HP. I got knocked into the air again and broke my fall with the water bucket, and the serpent let out a giant roar. It then let out another fire breath, and I went in for the kill. And after a few more hits, I had defeated the giant Tartarus serpent. That was not easy. Afterward, I took out the rest of the fire snakes, and now needed to look for Percy. Percy? Where the heck did you go? All of a sudden, Percy reappeared out of his invisibility.
Hey, you actually defeated it. I thought we were both dead.
I appreciate you guiding me and all, but I could have used a little help.
Combat isn't my strong suit, dear boy. Wait, I recognize this room. We're very close. Follow me.
All right, I'll follow you. So with Percy back leading me through the labyrinth, we of course continued running into more snakes. After taking them down, we kept on slowly making our way through the labyrinth. After taking out a bunch more snakes, I followed Percy until he eventually stopped.
This is it, young man. Typhon's chamber is just ahead. I'll help you soon. I promise this time.
I seriously hope he isn't lying. After Percy had disappeared, I snuck around the corner and saw the head of Typhon.
You dare set foot in my chambers, insect!
Typhon, how about you detach yourself from those roots and we'll call it a day? After the massive roar from Typhon, the battle had begun, and right behind me, Typhon had cut off my escape. He then pushed me back with his roar. I then drank my potions, and he started throwing molten rock at me, and I had to avoid the geysers on the ground. I then started shooting him with my crossbow and landed a few melee attacks, but took a ton of damage. I threw down one of my potions, but got hit back into the air and clutched with my water bucket, but then got hit by one of the molten rocks and ate a golden apple. I landed a bunch of critical hits on Typhon, chunking his health down, and got knocked back into the air, and I had to use my water bucket to clutch again. I then noticed Typhon summoned in snakes, and I used my crossbow to kill them. Typhon then reared back his head and spit out wither clouds, scorching the ground. And while battling Typhon, Percy snuck out of invisibility and used the Terra Potion on the roots of the tree. The Terra Potion started taking effect on Typhon, and all of a sudden, he became stunned. I used the opportunity to close the distance, but before I could land any hits, Typhon began to wake up. He just broke free from the roots. Typhon then summoned in tornadoes, and I had to be careful to avoid them. I then got knocked back again and broke my fall with my water bucket. But all of a sudden, Typhon lifted his arms and slammed the ground. That almost knocked me in the lava. Typhon then disappeared into the lava. Where did he go? Before I knew it, he popped up right behind me, but luckily I noticed in time and started shooting him with my crossbow. He then lifted his arms and slammed the ground again, destroying even more terrain. I used my water bucket to get back up and continued chipping down at Typhon's HP. He then destroyed even more terrain, and I actually fell into the lava this time. But I swam up fast and used my water bucket to get out of the lava. I then ate a golden apple and went back up to do more damage, but then got knocked back by a roar which almost knocked me back in. Typhon continued firing his magma and breaking even more terrain. I fell into the lava again and used my water bucket to escape, but I now had Typhon on a sliver of HP. I'm almost out of potions. Come on! I then got knocked back and missed one of my potions, so I used the other one and my golden apple, but only needed to land one more bow shot. Just one more hit! All of a sudden, I got knocked into the air, but one of the tornadoes gave me slow falling, and when I landed down, I landed the final shot on Typhon. I actually did it! Typhon collapsed and he was finally defeated. But then something strange spawned in where Typhon died. What in the world is that? Percy! Do you know what that is? Where have you been? Wait, what did you... I can't move.
I'll be taking that.
Percy, what are you doing? Percy then used his wand to channel a spell on the heart. The heart eventually broke and an item dropped.
It's finally mine. Typhon's heart. Thank you for playing such an instrumental role in my plan, mortal.
Mortal? Stop joking, Percy. This isn't funny.
Percy, start by calling me by my real name, mortal. Polus, the Titan of Knowledge.
Titan? But you're a human.
I wasn't lying to you when I said I was weak. In fact, the weakest of the Titans. But where I lack in strength, I make up for in knowledge. Now that I won't be needing you anymore, it's time I end this. out! Who in Zeus's name?
Don't make me shoot you again, Percy.
Zephyr, you're alive. Well, I would like to get rid of the witnesses, as dead men tell no tales. But alas, I have what I want. We'll never meet again.
We need to go, quickly.
What? Why? Oh, that's why.
Run!
Typhon's chambers began to shake as debris began raining down. Zephyr handed me ender pearls to make it to the other side, and when I made it across, we made a run for it. We ran out as quickly as possible and eventually made it to the exit. And after escaping the world tree and the jungle, the tree was now cured of its corruption. Zephyr and I continued running until we eventually reached some safe ground. How did you find me, Zephyr?
Don't you know I'm a master of disguise, Boggylocks?
Whoa, so what are your plans now?
I'm off to help Niko rebuild Frost Harbor Village. Now that the island is cured, I'm free to leave the swamps. I suggest you leave the island and find Percy. I'm sure his plans with Typhon's power aren't good.
Leave the island? How could I got it. Thanks for everything, Zephyr. Best of luck rebuilding.
Likewise, bosshead.
And so Zephyr went back to rebuild with Niko, and I returned to my base one last time. I knew I needed to track down Polus and leave the island, so I grabbed what valuables I could and went over to the abandoned pirate ship. I hope I'm able to sail this thing. After hopping onto the boat, I got onto the wheel and started sailing. I can't believe this works. With a long journey across the ocean, I was now sailing to my next adventure. If you enjoyed, make sure to like and subscribe. A big thanks to my team for making this possible, and I hope you all have a great day.